Hello, welcome. My name is Sarah Atwater, and I am the creator of the Trillium Law Course. And if you're on this landing page, you're probably perusing through the material and maybe the questions and answers. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of a verbal answer to the question, why would I want to do this? Why would I want to create, why would you want to create a private church and a ministry and a trust? What does this structure have to offer you? So I wanted to just answer that question. So let's start by just talking about what each of these structures is and what they do. They're essentially a self-governance structure with three different parts. And what they do is they take spiritually guided work or a spiritually guided mission and create a framework around it that allows that spiritually guided mission to operate, including financially, outside of the public realm. So there's a big distinction between public and private, and that's something that we get into in the Trillium Law Course. But essentially, the public domain is like government, statutes, all of the things that are available to the people at large, that govern the people at large. So the private is sort of what you do in your own home, what you do in your own private domain. It's not overseen by the government. And the church is one of those places where, at least in the United States, the government doesn't have oversight. And what most people don't understand is that a church is not like, doesn't have to be like the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church or something like that. Anybody can create their own small church with their own small fellowship and congregation and operate in the private domain through that structure. And that is beyond any U.S. law. It's under a spiritual jurisdiction. And because of that, and because of the way the United States law, the Constitution, was originally established, we have the freedom in the United States to do that, and even to do to set up a trust for the church and do banking outside of any government oversight, as long as we're not harming anyone. But we're not subject to all the statutes, codes, regulations, and all of that within that structure of the church. So it's a very powerful structure. In other countries, it works a little differently, and we get into this in the course as well. We talk about the difference between common law and civil law and what's unique about the United States. I'm not going to get into all of that right now, but what I want to say is that if you live somewhere that's not the United States, that's under civil law, you can still use this structure. It's just going to look a little different. Right now I'm in Costa Rica, and I'm talking a lot to people who live here but maybe are from the States or who have contacts in the States. And you can absolutely set up a private church in the United States with a private non-taxable trust in the United States and have operations in Costa Rica. And it's a little bit, the way it plays out is a little bit different than in the US, but you can still use a lot of the protections available to people in the United States, and particularly around banking. So I think that is key for a lot of people. So, so what are the top 10 reasons for doing this. So number one, for a lot of people, it's not the only reason, but it is on the top of a lot of people's list, is acquisition of tax-exempt status, which is actually not tax-exempt. It's non-taxable or tax accepted. In the IRS code, it's called, what churches get is a tax exception, meaning you're never under their jurisdiction in the first place for them to give you an exemption. An exemption implies that they have jurisdiction, and then they choose whether or not you're exempt. The way it's worded in the IRS code for churches is that churches, if they're not doing a 501c3 petition to get recognition, are mandatorily accepted from the whole code. So no requirement to file, no requirement to pay tax, no requirement to register, no requirement to tell anybody any of your business, and that includes the trust and banking. Okay. So number two is protecting your right to engage in religious activities under the Constitution and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. So I just want to say one thing about the Constitution, because I'm saying under the Constitution, but again, the subtleties of language are important. When we use the Constitution to protect our rights, we're bringing forth a document that was created to guarantee rights that were unalienable and originally given to us by God. They're inherent, inalienable, or unalienable rights. They're not constitutional rights, they're not civil rights, they're not any kind of rights, they're just rights. And you have them whether or not there's a constitution. So we're not technically under the Constitution. The Constitution is there to enumerate and guarantee that we have these rights and that they will be protected from government, from the systems. So, and then the Religious Freedom Restoration Act is particular to the United States around the ability to practice your religion the way you want and not have any interference in your doctrine or dogma or practices or anything like that. And this is being used by a lot of people who do plant medicine work. So that's an important one to know about. So number three is laying the foundation for setting up a private trust and non-statutory bank account specifically for the business of your church ministry. So, and that can include support for your church's minister, which might be you, might be, a few people. It depends on how you're set up. You can have as many ministers as you want, and also the minister's dependents. So the church can support its ministers and the minister's dependents. And you do that through a private trust. And the private trust is an auxiliary, an integrated auxiliary of the church. So it's all part of the same structure. And once you have that private trust, which again, you don't have to register, you don't have to get a lawyer, you can just write this up. If you have the template and you know how to work it, you just do it. And then you can open up a bank account under the name of this trust that's connected to your church. So it's not, the church itself isn't opening a bank account, the ministry isn't opening a bank account, it's the trust. It's separate so that the spiritual authority is over here, then the ministry is here, and the trust is here. So let me explain these three different pieces. So this church is the spiritual authority. And it's also the fellowship of people that are part of the church. And the ministry is the service that the church provides, and there can be more than one ministry. And then, and it's also, the ministry is also the private membership association, or the unincorporated association, which is the governing body. So you've got the spiritual authority under the church, the private membership association, and the ministry. The ministry is a private membership association, and that is the governing body. So that's where like all your bylaws and articles of association and membership agreements, and how you do your day-to-day, that's there. And then the trust is the third structure that handles the money. So another reason why you might want to set up these structures is so that you can live your life in the private as a minister of your private unincorporated church, and you can basically receive support for you as your church's minister to do the work you were meant to do without being weighed down by government-imposed taxes and licenses and restrictions. This structure works really well for people who do some kind of activity that's normally regulated, like might be healing work, some kinds of teaching, farming, different things. You'll just have to think it through and maybe have a conversation with me if you're not sure if this would be a good fit for the type of profession that you're in. But it's anything that that is for you a calling, or feels more like a ministry than a business, or maybe you'd like it to be more of a ministry than a business. You might be someone who hosts retreats and creates experiences for people. There's a lot of different types of activities that can be held under this structure, with a lot of benefit from being able to operate privately and not be weighed down by all the bureaucracy. So another benefit to doing this is being part of a movement of building a parallel society. And this part is, for me, the most exciting, to be able to envision a world where there's a lot of many small churches and people having private membership associations and having their own private ministries where they're doing beautiful work in the world, and they're self-governing. And then they can come together and create their own networks of self-governance and learn from each other and support each other. And we can create a whole society around this that operates in parallel to what we know of as the public system, where the public system doesn't necessarily go away, but it just becomes less and less because people are taking more and more personal responsibility and self-governing. And this can happen anywhere in the world, really. There's different parameters in different countries. It's the easiest in the United States because of our system, believe it or not. It's actually, we have amazing protections in the United States. Can't really see that right now, what's going on, but on a law level, it's true. So there's a lot of potential there in the U.S., and then also using those protections in other countries as well. And so that's another possibility. So another thing is to stop feeding the beast. the public system with your energy, attention, and tax money, and start to pull those resources in, the resource of your attention and the resource of your money and your time, and putting more of that into whatever it is that you're doing in the world that's vital to the future of humanity. And so many people are doing so many wonderful things, and they just get kind of bogged down by the constraints of the system and not knowing how to do what it is they really want to do and still sort of please the authorities, so to speak. And what I'm saying is that you don't have to. There's a way to just step outside and start to build your own thing, and that's what I'm trying to teach people how to do. So that's the bottom line of it. And another thing is to craft bulletproof membership agreements with your members, your ministry members, that include a conflict resolution clause and adjudication structure, so that if there's ever an issue, you don't need to go to public courts. You can just have your own private mediation, arbitration, and even a private jury trial. That's even a trial by jury, I should say. That's actually a thing that exists. That's possible, and there's really good reasons for doing that. I know that might trigger some people when they hear that, but I'm telling you, there's really good reasons for doing it, because the public legal system that we have is not really serving the people anymore, and that's a whole other topic I'm not going to unpack right now, but I can say that with confidence. So another thing is to use the structure to get crystal clear on what it is that you are offering to the world, and then put it all in writing, in your purpose, vision, mission, and your bylaws and your membership agreement, so that you can attract the people into your world and your offering that are the perfect fit for you, and you weed out the people who are not. And I'm hoping that this video and this landing page will do just that. Because if you are listening to me and you like what you hear and you feel drawn to learning more and being part of my ministry and becoming a member and engaging in the course, then that's great, and I'm happy to have you. And if you're, feeling not attracted to it, not aligned, having a lot of questions, or saying but, maybe it's not a good fit, and that's okay. And I'm happy for you to go and find something else that does work for you. And so your membership agreements and your process of pulling everything together in a really clear way is going to help you with that, attracting the perfect people and weeding out those who aren't so perfect for what they might be fine people, but they're just not perfect for what you're doing. So that's part of it too. And then another thing is to be able to accept donations or contributions of money that are non-taxable and tax accepted, and also tax deductible. And all of this without ever having to file anything with the IRS, which is amazing. Most people don't know that this is a thing, that it's possible, but it's totally possible. And I can prove it because I actually wrote to the IRS. Now, this is a little bit different than the auxiliary trust, but I'm going to do the same thing with my integrated auxiliary trust that I did with my foreign trust. I wrote to the IRS and I said, and I didn't have to do this. This is not, I could have just set up the trust and then used it. But I wanted to know. So I sent them a letter and I said, hey, I understand that this trust is not taxable. And under your codes. And here's what it says in your manual. It doesn't actually say it in the Title 26 IRS. I don't think so. I looked for it, I couldn't find it. But it says it in their manual that this particular foreign trust is outside their jurisdiction, not taxable. You can open up a U.S. bank account with it, but the IRS can't touch it. So I just wrote to them to confirm, and it took 10 months. But after 10 months, I got the letter back, and they basically said, nope, no requirement to file. And they even said, sorry to inconvenience you. That's what surprised me more than anything. They actually apologized for inconveniencing me. So I have written proof that this is real. And I plan to do the same with the auxiliary trust because, I mean, it's clear that it's not taxable. You can prove it by their code, but I want the letter. I want the letter that says so, because some people need that to be really, really, really sure. Okay, and then the last reason that I have on my list here and there's many more. It's not that these are the only reasons, but there may be many more. These are the reasons I came up with. The last one is that you have a chance to build community with other people who are creating this type of structure. So I talked about building the parallel society, but in this course, you have an opportunity to connect with other people who are on the same journey. And we meet together every week. And we share ideas and we get to know each other, and you make new friends. And these are friends that are like really into the same thing that you're into, which is like this private structure and learning how to operate, in self-governance and, living in a whole new way. And those are the best kind of friends, the ones that really share those deep values with you. That said, I will also say that there is an option for you to just do the course privately, like just watch the lessons on your own time. Or I would highly recommend you do that. But if you don't have time and don't want to, take the time to listen to a bunch of stuff, just work with me privately. It might be a little more expensive because then I've got to, put in more time with you one-on-one. But if you want to do that, that is an option, and you can talk to me about that. And one way or another, I'll get you set up. And it's just a matter of, how much time it's going to take. On my part, I set the course up so I could give you a ton of content and information, and not just like volume of content, but the stuff that I feel is really useful and important for you to know when you're setting up these structures, so that you can do it with knowledge and with confidence, and really stand behind what you're doing. So it's not like, okay, I've got these, this is what happened to me. When I first did this, I paid someone a lot of money to set up these documents for me, and then I got the documents and I was like, what is this? I don't know what to do with this. What does this mean? There's a lot of language I didn't understand. It was like formatted really weird. It didn't look right. There were so many things wrong with it. And then she was MIA. I couldn't reach her. Tried to set up phone appointment, email, got like short responses and then no response. And then she just didn't show up when she said she was going to show up. And I was like, okay, I'm on my own and I can't get my money back. So I'm not going to do that to you. I'm here for you, and I'm here to help you get really comfortable and really familiar with everything. I took like 2 years to dive into this stuff and basically teach myself, since I wasn't getting that education. And I saw a need in this field because a lot of people are learning about this now, and there's a lot of people out there doing exactly that thing that I just explained. And I feel like it's important to have the education. And so I wanted to create the course so I had a place to put all the education that I felt was important background for operating lawfully, privately, and confidently um, under these structures. And it's evolving. I'm going to continue to add stuff, and I continue to learn from people's experiences. And now I'm branching into international because I'm living in Costa Rica. So it's like learning how to use these structures to be able to do really cool things in another country, but still utilize the protection of the United States, which is totally possible. And I'm in the process of gathering all that information as well. So that's going to be additional modules in the course. So you keep getting whatever the cutting edge is, as far as I can tell. And also, if you sign up for this course, you have it for, I want to say for life, but I don't know. I can't promise how long I'm going to live or how long, I'm going to have access to this platform or whatever. But as long as I have access to this platform, and as long as I can continue doing this, and as long as I'm available, to manage it, or someone else potentially, I'm going to keep doing it, and you keep having access. I'm not going to shut you out, so you'll have access to these videos, and you can always download stuff too, and keep it. So that's my introduction, and if you have questions and you want to learn more, you can send me an email, or at the top of the landing page there's a place where you can put in your name and email, and then I'll get that and I'll reach back to you, and we can have a 15-minute chat, and I'll send you information about live events that I'm planning, and you'll be kept in the loop. All right, see you later.